You know what you learn when you become a professor and when you go and you get graduate degrees? It's not education in any sort of way. That's not what you're learning. And that's not the most important thing. Everybody gets them mixed up. But what you learn is confidence. You realize that, hey, I'm actually pretty good and I can stand up and I can look at the world and I can be me and explain what that means to be me. I think that's the most important lesson that you're ever going to learn is that confidence that you actually get. Now, there's two things that are going to happen, right? First thing is when you go and you get a graduate degree, you are going to feel the pits. You do, right? You're going to feel completely incompetent. You're going to feel terrible. You're going to feel that when you do your undergraduate degree, but then when you do your graduate degree, it's 100 times worse. You really start feeling not good about yourself. But then over time, you realize that doesn't matter, right? Like at the end of the day, there's nothing that you can say or do, and you're totally fine when that happens to you. And then you get this profound confidence in who you are, and you just kind of walk around saying, I'm okay with who I am. There's nothing that you can take away from me. There's nothing that you can say, and I'm okay. And yes, there's lots of days where you do feel down and lots of things happen. But the confidence that you get from doing just grinding work and people telling you no all the time, you really start to develop something. And I know that this is a really weird thing to say, but you become a lot more confident deep down inside as people abuse you and you get a lot of negative comments, and you work on something where nobody gives you feedback for months and months and months. You realize that you're a pretty strong human being and you can stand up and do things where other people can't do those things. And I think that's the important lesson to take away, is that you're building confidence. You are building something inside that nobody can take away from you. Now, a lot of people come into it having that confidence, and they have that sort of, I'm just going to do whatever it is. But many of us, probably you included, come into going into life feeling kind of insecure and feeling like I'm not good enough and feeling all of those kind of things. But over time, you realize none of that stuff really matters anyways. And you just kind of stand up and you say, I'm good enough. You become the hero in your own story. And you realize that, hey, you know what? Nobody else is going to do this stuff because they're afraid to do it. That's the reason why they don't do it, is because they're afraid to do it. It's all of the other stuff. And then you realize that, hey, wait a minute, this is really weird that I'm the one that's actually doing that. What is going on? That means that you have some self-confidence that other people don't have. Don't discount any of that kind of stuff. And what you realize is, yeah, people are going to knock things down and they're not going to say anything about what you're doing is great and any of that kind of stuff. But you stand up and you go and you do it. And you get all sorts of negative criticism and all of that kind of stuff. But you stand up and you go. And you realize that 20, 30, 40, 50 people are going to try to do this, and somebody's going to give them negative feedback and they're going to quit. You're not the one that's going to quit. And when you realize you're not the one that's going to quit, you become the hero in your own story. And I think that's the important thing to remember, is that you do become the hero in your own story. And you realize that that is really unusual. And you realize that I'm actually better than what I thought I was. And that's it. I think that's how you build a lot of confidence with who you are, is just keep doing something that is unbelievably hard and that everybody else can't do, or they won't do, or all of these things, or they're afraid to do. which is probably more along the lines of really what's going on, is they're just afraid because they think that they're not smart enough. They think that they can't do something. Like all of those kind of stupid excuses go into their heads. But then you get up and you do it, and you try, and you try, and you try, and that's it. And when you try, and you try, and you try, even by chance, if something happens to you that gives you a little bit of a leg up, then you get some confidence, and then you can keep going and pursuing this thing even more. I want you to remember that. Just don't give up. Don't stop. And when you do that, no matter what happens, who's saying these kind of things or whatever, that confidence that you get from just trying and getting up and banging your head against a brick wall, something happens. You become okay with who you are. You become okay with knowing that nobody needs to like who I am. I'm good enough, and I can live my life when nobody else cares and does all that kind of stuff. I can live my life perfectly fine, and I'm okay. That's the important thing to remember. You are okay. All right, take care, and have a wonderful day.